I'm Susan McGinnis with Clean Skies News. The Federal Energy Regulatory Commission is poised to get significant new authority under pending energy and climate legislation. From siting of transmission to energy markets to smart grid regulation, what will be FERC's expanded role in energy? Let's get some thoughts now from Branko Terzic. He is a former FERC Commissioner, now regulatory policy leader at Deloitte. Branko, thanks for coming in.
Thank you, Susan. Pleasure to be here.
So FERC is poised to get significant new authority under pending energy legislation. Let's start with siting. Do you think they should have more authority in siting interstate transmission, and will they get it?
I believe they'll get some additional authority. They had some limited authority in the 2005 Energy Policy Act, but it turned out to be not really sufficient for them to do their job. If we're going to be depending more and more on the grid for interstate power, then we're going to need more coordination. And either the FERC will get primary jurisdiction or some kind of collateral jurisdiction where they'll be able to work with the states.
Right.
It's a very political issue.
What could be the state's role? I mean, what's broken now that needs to be changed?
Well, one of the difficulties now, unlike a gas transmission line, where if you're going to build a multi-state gas transmission line, you go directly to the FERC. If you're going to build a multi-state electric transmission line, each individual state, usually Public Service Commission, has to reach the determination that that piece of the transmission line within that state benefits that state, and sometimes they reach an opposite conclusion.
So the provision in the bill that lets the government overrule state objections to new power lines, you're in favor of that?
The provision of the bill would be an extension of the current bill, which says that if the states are unable to act within a certain time period, the FERC can step in and grant a federal license. The existing provisions will expand that to more locations. Right now, that only applies in DOE designated corridors, so it's very limited, and the expansion would be specifically to allow it to reach large renewable energy sources. So it won't be comprehensive, and the FERC will not get authority in all cases to site transmission. Transmission will still stay fundamentally a state responsibility.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about offshore energy development. The FERC has been at odds for a long time with the Interior Department over regulation of development of offshore wind and wave energy. Tell me how this memorandum of understanding you think between FERC and DOI is working.
Well, I think it'll be limited use. There are not that many developers out there looking. That's, I think, a secondary area. Most people are looking onshore in locations which are well proven. Offshore has multiple difficulties with shipping, with fishing, with expense of construction.
So this is not exactly paving the way.
So I don't think we will be depending on a large percentage or really a significant percentage of offshore. It'll be limited, special purpose, unique, but it will not solve our energy supply needs.
How about the smart grid? You say the grid can be smarter, but you say consumers won't get the full benefits until electricity tariffs become compatibly smart. What do you mean by that?
Well, you know, the smart grid is not the holy grail that's going to solve every problem when it comes to energy. Too many people have forgotten that, yes, we can make the grid smarter. It can be more efficient. It can deliver power more efficiently. But we also need new electric supply, and we also need demand reduction technologies at the home and in businesses. And these are all pieces of the smart grid. You know, fundamentally, we need a lot more old dumb grid.
Yeah.
We just need more transmission in places where we don't have it. Smart grid is an incremental improvement, but I don't think it's going to be the revolution, at least in the short run, that people expect. In the long run, as we buy smart appliances, as we connect all of the equipment in our homes to the computers and to the electric system, the whole energy delivery system will be smarter, and the smart grid's a piece of it, but that's a little bit away.
But all of it needs a major capital investment.
It does all need a major capital investment, Susan. That's exactly the key point. Will the utilities be fairly compensated for that investment? Will they earn a fair return? And mostly that's up to the states at this point in time.
Now, FERC Chairman John Wellinghoff has been a big advocate for plug-in electrics. Where do you see that going, and what is FERC's role in all of the different ancillary regulations that will govern electric vehicles, infrastructure, and retrofitting people's homes? I mean, there's a lot going on.
Well, unfortunately, FERC's role there is very limited. Keep in mind, FERC's primary jurisdiction in electricity is wholesale electric markets and the transmission grid. It is not the distribution network, and it's certainly not anything that you plug into your home. And so all of that will be at the State Public Service Commission level under maybe federal guidance in new legislation. But FERC can only do things at the wholesale level, at the transmission level. The rules and regulations about plugging in hybrids and that, there'll be some limited standards authority, which the FERC has in the new bill, to set standards so that we have a national standards. But the state senators and state representatives are very reluctant to intrude on what's historically been the State Public Service Commission regulation. I speak as a former Wisconsin commissioner when it comes to retail electric rates, retail connection, retail disconnection, and anything having to do with things plugged in at the home.
What do you think the prospects are for FERC ending up with more authority under a cap and trade system?
Oh, clearly cap and trade, the trading of CO2 emissions, my understanding is will be FERC jurisdiction, which I think is appropriate because it's going to be very much tied into the electric production, electric system. FERC now has experience in power markets, and so they do have experience in monitoring trading, monitoring behavior of traders, monitoring markets. That experience is now more than a decade. They'll do an okay job when it comes to CO2.
But they would need to probably expand staffing to handle that.
Absolutely, they'll need an entirely new group, entirely new office and new functions there.
Also, curbing speculation in energy markets is back in the spotlight right now. What do you think FERC's involvement might be in potential regulation to put limits on certain kinds of trading?
It's unclear at this point. Number one, it's unclear to me whether speculation has been a major problem or whether speculation is merely the result of uncertainty that was created in these markets by federal inaction on climate change, by uncertain rules with respect to power trading and these sorts of things. It's not clear to me that speculation is the problem to be solved. The long-term problem we have is getting adequate supply at reasonable cost. And speculation in some regard is the lubricant that gets us to that. So I'm not real concerned about speculation causing prices in the long run to be negatively affected for consumers.
But many do, and they believe that regulation is coming to these markets. And if it does, will FERC be involved in that? I
would hope that it is, if not directly, as in an advisory role, because one would have to, in any market, no matter that you're speculating in the financial derivative, the underlying, there needs to be knowledge of the underlying market. If you're going to be trading pork bellies, you need to have underlying knowledge of agricultural markets. If you're going to be trading electricity, somebody has to have some underlying knowledge of electricity markets in the long run. You know, some markets are organic. They start with traders themselves. The New York Stock Exchange started that way. The Lloyd's of London started. The Chicago Merc, the traders started, and then regulation came second. In these new markets, because they're created markets, created by new laws, the regulators have to be there. They're going to learn from existing markets and from other regulations. So there'll be a period where there'll be some mistakes made, but I think markets can work. We know that markets can work, and we know we need regulation. Every trader knows that. No trader wants to trade in a market where the person they're trading against won't play by the rules. No trader wants that. They want to know what the rules are, and they'll work around the rules, but all traders want rules, and so FERC will do a good job. Okay,
I want to get your opinion, Branko, on some comments that John Wellinghoff made recently, saying that this country may need no new nuclear or coal plants forever. He believes that smart grid, natural gas and renewables, and efficiency will be more than enough to power this country.
I think ideally, arithmetically, that may be true. As a practical matter, I think that'd be very difficult or impossible to achieve. For example, I've seen studies which have said if electric vehicles are only plugged in at night and not plugged in during the day, we would have to build no new electric power plants to power our fleet of vehicles. Unfortunately, as a practical reality, people that have electric vehicles go plug them in during the day because we still fill our gas tanks when they're at half. We don't wait till they go to E, many of us, to fill them. And so, you know, ideally that may be true, but as a practical matter, we will need new supply. I would direct any of our audience here, you, Susan, to the report of the National Petroleum Council, the hard truths about energy. 1,000 scientists, engineers, and national experts did the report, and they say we need all sources of supply. all of them simultaneously to meet our future energy demands. And number one, we need energy efficiency and conservation, which I agree very much with John with. That's our cheapest, our quickest, the greatest saving we can have, turning off the lights, changing our lifestyle, buying more efficient equipment. But that won't be enough by itself. The report says we need nuclear, we need renewable, we need coal, we need natural gas, solar, wind, everything that we have.
Okay.
It's a big country.
All right, we'll check that out. Branko Terzic, former FERC Commissioner, now with Deloitte. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Susan.
And I'm Susan McGinnis, Clean Skies News.